One of the misleading thoughts is that India won its independence through non-violence. In 1962 Indo-China War, the political class did not allow the use of Indian Air Force to defend our country. In 1971, we freed 93,000 Pakistani prisoners of war without getting our own POWs back from Pakistan or getting a better bargain in POK. Every year, about 25 to 30,000 Agni would come out as disciplined, motivated, nationalistic individuals who will make a mark in the society. Namaste to all subscribers of Samvada English channel. Over the last month or so, Indians' political space as well as the media space has been occupied by one issue only. That is the issue of Agni Veers. We are hearing a lot of snippets, both positive and negative, on this issue. A lot of our subscribers have written to us to clarify and clear the air. I, Wing Commander Rajeev, here will try and bring out all aspects of Agni Veer so that our subscribers are well informed and the issues that we are facing are cleared. In order to take you to the whole breadth of Agni Veer, I will cover this episode in 3 sections. First is, I'll cover the background as to why this action on part of Government of India was necessary. Second, I will bring out the salient aspects of the Agni Veer scheme. And last, I'll talk about the issues raised both in print and in the political space. With this introduction, let us start with the section 1, which is the background. Right since India's independence, India has found it difficult to balance the civilian and the military domains in its sovereign space. One of the misleading thoughts or historical references that is taught to us is that India won its independence through non-violence. Even though non-violence played its part, India won its independence both through violent and non-violent means. One of the last straws in the Britishers' back was the last war of independence, which is also called by Britishers as the naval mutiny, which occurred in February 1946. Sailors experienced in World War II took up arms against the British officers and succeeded in creating havoc and panic among the Britishers. Britishers realized that a well-trained army of Indians who had fought on all the fronts of World War II could no longer be contained, and hence the process for independence was hastened up. Post-independence in 1947, Indian political class were always afraid or always hesitant in offering space to the military brass. In 1948, we had an outstanding general who was a Kannadiga, the first Indian Army Chief, General Cariappa. Such stalwart personalities as General Cariappa created hesitancy in the political class to share the power space or the power spectrum that was available in sovereign state of India. To compound matters, in 1958, our neighboring country, Pakistan, had a military coup and General Ayub Khan took power. This further reinforced the belief that the military arm should be kept under and not at par with the civilian domain in India. These two parallel domains were always kept with a gap, and this gap only widened. Each owner of this domain, be it the civilian owner or the military personnel, were happy ruling their own turf. But the overall aim of guarding Indian borders and making India stronger in every aspect by having synergy between these two arms was neglected. These gaps often proved fatal. I'll give you a couple of examples. In 1962 Indo-China War, the political class did not allow the use of Indian Air Force or the use of aeroplanes to defend our country. Proved to be catastrophic. In 1971, we freed 93,000 Pakistani prisoners of war without getting our own POWs back from Pakistan or getting a better bargain in POK. These disastrous mistakes only happened because decision making was happening in silos and there was no synergy. This action of Government of India has been well thought of and this is intended to bridge the divide between the civil and the military domains. Till now, military officers and personnel used to serve their entire life, minimum of 20 or 15 years, in the services and come over and live a retired life. They had no option to join the government institutions and put their experience in the services to use in civilian decision making. In 2015, Prime Minister Modi realized this gap and started addressing this issue. The first piece of the puzzle that he tackled was the formation of the CDS, or Chief of Defence Staff. He wanted to bring synergy at the top between the armed forces before trying to bridge the gap between the civil and the military domains. There was a lot of inhibitions, lot of criticism to the post of CDS2, but over a period of the last 4-5 years, it has proved its worth. Next came the formation of theatre commands. India post-independence had 3 arms in the military: the Army, which catered to the land, the Air Force, which catered to the air and space, and Navy, which catered to the sea realm. Each one of these service arms had its own command structure, and hence there was always gaps in synergy. By creating theatre commands, Government of India was categorical in saying that these gaps should be diminished. We should achieve jointmanship in the true sense. Post theatre commands and the position of CDS came OFB restructuring. This was huge. We in the services never thought we would see this day when OFBs would be restructured. OFB stands for Ordnance Factory Board, under which all the ordnance factories of government function. So these have been restructured to ensure that the products needed for the day, products needed to fight today's war, is available with the soldiers. DRDO, the holy cow, who brooked no interference in its affairs, has also been restructured. Today, we are seeing success after success coming from DRDO's labs. It was indeed a sad story till 2014 or 2016 when normal personal kits had to be imported from other countries by India. Personal protection gear, personal weapons, all these were imported. We are marching through today through private partnership with the industry and also DRDO pulling up its socks and delivering key weapon systems to the Indian Armed Forces. After restructuring all this within the Armed Forces and its ecosystem consisting of DRDO and OFBs, the Government of India decided to bridge the civil-military divide. This is by creating the structure of Agniveer. So Agniveer is not a single step. Agniveer is a step in a series of steps initiated by the Government of India to bring in efficiency, to bring in synergy in the overall spectrum of decision making between the civil and the military domains. This is the background. In the next section, we will talk about Agniveer scheme itself. Section 2, Agniveers. Government of India introduced this act in June 2022. The aim of this act was to introduce a short-term service model in the Indian Armed Forces across the 3 arms, that is, the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. The eligibility was for all Indian youngsters aged between 17 to 21, and then it was increased to 23, I believe. 17 and a half to 21 and 23 later. The training was left to the service arms, wherein rigorous training under each arm suited to the position that the youngster would be deployed to or the Agniveer would be deployed to was factored in. New training syllabus was brought out by each arm and Agniveers were rigorously put through these training programs. What is this short-term service? Short-term service means that the Agniveer, once selected, would serve in the Indian Armed Services for a period of 4 years and then he would be discharged from the service. Presently, out of the discharged lot, the best 25% would be given offer letters to join as regular soldiers for a further period of 15 years. What are the benefits of this scheme? Various financial packages which we'll go to in the third section. But the greatest benefit for today's youngsters in the space called Indian social spectrum, is that every year about 25 to 30,000 Agniveers would come out as disciplined, motivated, and nationalistic individuals who will make a mark in the society. To give you a reference as to how popular these schemes have been, you may be surprised, contrary to what you read in many newspapers, televisions, and in social media space. I'll give you a couple of numbers. The Army Notification Act 2024 advertised for 28,000 vacancies. The number of applicants that it received exceeded 12 lakhs. This is a 10% rise over the 2023 number, which hovered around 11 lakhs. Percentage wise, youngsters seem to have a preference for Indian Air Force. For 3,000 vacancies, 7.5 lakh applications have been received by the Indian Air Force. So you see, there is no dearth of vacancies, so there is no dearth of applicants, there is no dearth of motivation to join the armed forces amongst the people who really matter, the youngsters who are willing to serve their motherland and to pick up martial skills. If this indeed is such a good scheme for the youngsters, why is there such resentment, such criticism of the same in the political and the social media space? We will address it in the next section. Section 3, I'll talk about the issues raised. Before I go into the issues raised, let me give you some feedback that I've gathered for this program from my colleagues and seniors who are still serving in the armed forces about Agni scheme. The feedback that I have received is unanimous. My colleagues in the armed forces are clear that the youngsters who have come through this scheme, the Agniveers, are motivated, eager to learn, have fast pickup capacities, and are always trying to outdo each other in training. Their ability to pick up subjects such as cyber, drone technology, missile technology, radars has been appreciated, and they have been found to be at par or better than the earlier soldiers with the same average amount of training. The second aspect is none of the Agniveers who post training have been posted to so-called hot areas in the northern or the eastern part of the country have complained or have shown dissidence on their posting. They have shown eagerness to be posted to these areas to showcase their strengths and to showcase their abilities. The reading from the armed forces is very clear. Agniveer is a success, and they are very happy with the level of maturity, with the level of eagerness and competitiveness that these Agniveers have shown. Now let me bring out some of the issues that the political spectrum and the social spectrum have raised against this scheme. The first is raised by some veterans in the social media space and in the electronic media space, saying that the amount of training given is not enough for him to survive in a modern war or a modern skirmish with antisocial elements or terrorists. This is a very, very serious issue that has been raised casually by many people. No Agniveer or previously a regular soldier post training would go into a combat zone and fight without having experienced people beside him to teach him. In fact, an Agniveer or a soldier or self as an officer, when I was deputed to field units on day one, we were clueless. It happens to every industry. Today I'm in the software world. An engineer, even coming from IIT, is not put on project straight away. There is some in-house training that is done to bring him at par and to ensure that the edge is sharp. The same thing, the same holds true for the Indian Armed Forces. Any Agniveer post-training who comes to a field unit or a regiment is put through the training loop of the regiment. He is taught the needed skills to ensure that his survival is ensured or at least assured. He never goes to the battle alone. He is always supported by experienced people. In the Air Force, the Agniveers are cleared for stage 1 servicing of the aircraft. They never do it alone. There are always a team of 7 to 8 tradesmen who do it. Out of these 8, 2 or 3 may be Agniveers. Going forward, it may be 4. They are always coupled or they are always supervised, monitored by experienced and expert craftsmen or tradesmen. Their work is supervised and cross-checked before the aircraft is handed over for a sortie. The same checks and balances is available in the other two arms, that is the Navy and the Army. To say that an Agniveer is not trained to perform his duties is putting a question mark on all the leaders, all the officers, all the JCOs who are in the three services. It's an absurd issue to be raised. An Agniveer would only be given such a task which his training would qualify him for. Now, on a more serious front, by raising this issue of operational preparedness of Agniveers, we are raising question marks on our senior hierarchy of the armed forces. Would any chief worth his salt compromise operational preparedness for any political patronage? I don't think so. Let us have faith in the decisions taken by our commanders and our chiefs. I am sure that with patience, this issue would be sorted out. Once again, reiterate for the sake of reassurance that operational preparedness issue raised is not a concern at all. The Agniveers are trained and trained enough. In fact, most modern armies do not train over 6 to 8 months in the initial phase. That is what we are doing for the Agniveers. In fact, the IDF, that is the Israeli Defense Forces, the air arm, only trains for 2 to 3 months. Would any one of us, any one of the subscribers, or anybody on the media or on the print space qualify IDF to be in a sad state, to be operationally inefficient? IDF has proved itself many times over. By raising this issue, we are lowering the morale of our armed forces and giving food for antisocial and our enemies across the border. I urge each one of you not to fall prey to this. The second issue that has been raised in the social sphere, especially in the political sphere, is that of unemployment after 4 years. Army as an institution is not geared for generating employment or sustaining employment. The aim of the armed forces is one and one only: to crush its enemies and to win wars so that the sovereignty of the country is ensured. It cannot allow its sharp edge to be blunted by other requirements of the political sphere. An army has to be young in order to fight modern battles. Today, the world is changing at a fast rate. During Bill Clinton's time, when China threatened Taiwan, President Bill Clinton ordered that 2 aircraft carriers would sail, and China backed out. Today, the same aircraft carriers had to back off from Red Sea due to Houthis' threat of drones and missiles. Times have changed, technologies have changed. New technologies have come to the fore, which have rendered previous operational plans redundant. We have to change, otherwise our army will lose its sharp edge. Change, even in the HR realm, is essential to sustain the sharp edge. To blunt this issue, the government of India has reserved 10% in paramilitary forces for Agniveers who are not enrolled as regular soldiers post their 4-year stint. We are the 3rd largest or the 4th largest economy in the world. Can our public and private enterprises not absorb 30 to 50,000 youngsters, Agniveers coming out every year, motivated youngsters, trained youngsters, eager to display their abilities, trained in modern technologies? Can the private sphere not absorb it? Already, Kalyani Group, Mahindra Group have shown interest in absorbing these Agniveers. I am sure other corporate houses would follow. The one thing that we should have is patience and the wisdom to see that the armed forces are not an employment tool. Now, coming to the third one, the third argument done is that this act has been brought up to lower the pension bill of the armed forces. Even though the pension bill would be lowered because of the Agniveers coming into the armed forces, that is, they are not eligible for pensions, that is not the key guiding principle behind this act as explained in the last 15 minutes. In order to win modern wars, you need youngsters who are technologically proficient. You need soldiers in the platoon level, in the company level, who are drone operators, who can understand cyber technology, who can understand space technology. Without this today, the Indian Army, Air Force and Navy would be found wanting in a modern war. To focus on a offshoot of the act and not the main requirement for the act to come through is, in my view, a short-sighted vision. The government has initiated this act with the purpose to make our armed forces sharp and ready for engagements in a modern war. The issue of lowering of pensions or pension bill is an offshoot, and that too is a beneficial to the armed forces. Would you want your son or cousin or brother as an Agniveer to go to war with outdated weapons, with outdated personal protective gear, or would you want him to go with the best of weapon systems and the best of protective gear? Lowering of the pension bill will give the government much more ability or leverage to buy advanced protective systems and weapons, which will, in the end, ensure the survivability of our Agniveers and India winning any war in the near future. Hence, the lowering of the pension bill is an additional incentive and not a deterrent to us. With this, I have covered the main points raised as objections to this act. Post in January this year, one of our Agniveers was killed in action due to a landmine blast in J&K. This brought the current issue that is in limelight, which is that of disparity in pay and allowances. Is there really a disparity in pay and allowances between regular soldiers and Agniveers? Let us go through this in detail. The financial benefits that accrue to the family of a deceased serviceman are insurance, ex gratia, welfare funds coming from the respective arms, then balance pay, pension and gratuities. Now let us see if all this are available to both regular soldiers as well as Agniveers. Let me come to the first one, which is insurance. As regular soldiers, we used to pay the premium against our insurance. If I remember correctly, a regular soldier is insured to the tune of 50 lakhs and he pays a premium of 5 to 6,000 against it per month. Agniveers get an insurance of 48 lakhs, but the premium for the same is paid by the government of India. So on insurance front, both of them get insurance. The regular soldiers pay their own premium. Agniveer's premium is paid by the government of India. So there is no difference, or there is a slight advantage to the Agniveers. Then the second one is the ex gratia payment. The ex gratia payment depends on the cause for the death. For regular soldiers, it varies from 25 lakhs, 35 lakhs and 45 lakhs. For Agniveers, it has been kept at 44 lakhs. So again, there is no difference in terms of ex gratia payments between Agniveers and regular soldiers. Next comes welfare fund. This depends on arm to arm. There is no difference between Agniveers and regular soldiers if the cause of death is due to combat or due to strife or antisocial elements in the country. Next comes pension. Pension is available only to regular soldiers and is not available to Agniveers, because the minimum permissible service that you have to do in order to be eligible for pensions as a soldier is 15 years. Since Agniveers have a short term of 4 years, they are not eligible for pensions. However, a parliamentary committee has been set up which is looking into this aspect. I consider that if an Agniveer is killed in action, then his family should get pensions at par with a regular soldier. However, we will wait for the parliamentary committee to give its report, and I am sure the government would make suitable changes in this respect. This pension would only occur to the families of deceased Agniveers and not to regular Agniveers who serve their 4-year term and who are discharged. Please do remember that 25% of these Agniveers are again enrolled back. The best 25% are again enrolled back into the armed forces, and these 25% will be eligible for pension post their 15-year engagement. The next financial benefit is gratuity. Gratuity, as on date, is eligible only for regular soldiers and not eligible for Agniveers. Against gratuity, the Agniveers get balance of pay. Let us say an Agniveer has completed 8 months of his tenure of 4 years and is killed in action. The remaining portion of his 4 years engagement term, whatever is his balance pay, that would be given to his next of kin. Agniveers also get a Seva Nidhi, which they contribute and get. There is no such scheme available for the regular soldiers. So if you look at it holistically, the financial benefits are more or less the same, barring pension and gratuity, which is in favor of the regular soldiers, and balance of payment, which is in favor of Agniveers. This is how it stands. Coming to the deceased Agniveer, Ajay Kumar, a total of 1.65 crores will be paid to him by the government of India across all these heads that I have mentioned. 98.39 lakhs has already been paid, and the rest is subject to paperwork, which may take 1 to 3 months, because in case of death, there is a police action that takes place, and police has to do its investigation and come out with a report as to what is the cause of death. So those paperworks take about 1 to 3 months. However, the bulk of the 1.65 crores, that is 98.39 lakhs, has already been dispersed to the next of kin of the deceased Agniveer. Over the last 20-25 minutes, I have taken you through the background of why these changes in the defense ecosystem has taken place in India. What was the reason for it? What was the need for it? What is Agniveer? What is the act? How is it beneficial? What is the feedback of the armed forces? What are the issues being raised in the political and the media space? Are they real? Are they myths? We have gone through all of them. Now, what is the conclusion? To conclude, every change will be opposed by a section of the society. In the recent past, we had GST, which was opposed by a section of the society. Today, it is heralded as a success. Give Agniveer scheme some time to stabilize. The first Agniveer is yet to come out. I am sure that the private companies, the private houses are eager to enrich their workforce with these motivated youngsters. Whatever small changes need to be done, tweaks need to be done, I am sure the armed forces is working with the government of India, and these tweaks would come in the days and months to come. In my view, Agniveer is a much needed scheme, much needed program to keep the edge of the spear sharp. With this, I look forward to your comments and feedback on this episode. Jai Hind.